Hey everyone, welcome to the sixth episode of the Yoni and Shimon Show, the premier podcast and toolkit for staying up in everything crypto related to building and investing. So, for this episode, we're going to be delving into open source AI as well as the opportunities, current problems, steps to solving those problems, and then what the future looks like. So, Yoni's going to give some context, but specifically, we'll be talking about um, the large amount of large language models that are open source, and of course, people can create and retrofit them to their own needs, creating their own private brain. But there's obviously some additional problems, right? There's cost of compute and making fine-tuning models. Yoni, do you want to kind of explain the genesis or motivation for creating this episode in the first place?
Yes, so let me share my screen. So basically, there is a massive opportunity that I saw that crypto is kind of positioned to solve, and I wanted to describe it. So first, okay, so let's make a TLDR before we are making an elaborative explanation on everything. Basically, the main idea is that there is a lot of large language models that are open, and there is the opportunity to create data about anything through a process called synthetic data. And basically, with this in mind, the world can create infinite amount of small brains, which are fine-tuned large language models, to do anything that you want. And then you'll have your own private brain. So you can create a Jewish AI, Christian AI, Muslim AI, AI of Boston, AI of that, AI of that, AI of that. So for anything that you want to have a specific understanding about, you can create it like you create a website.
Yeah.
And the cost of these things are going down and down. Why they are going down and down? Because the data sets will also come online as people building those data sets. Those will become online. You can use things that are already open. So open model, open data set, you need to use less compute. So as you go forward in time, it will become easier and easier to create those fine-tuned models, your own private model,
Mm.
and the world will be just crazy. But on the way there, so that's the kind of end dream, like not end. I think it will happen within a few years, but if we'll have millions of those models exist, it will be insane because each of those models can be very valuable. I think more than like a few $1 billion of value that can be
Yeah.
used for robots, can be used for anything. Okay, so now what's the problems to get there?
Yeah.
So obviously it's costs. So what are the costs? Cost of compute
Mhm.
for fine-tune, cost of compute for creating a data set. And so now what we want to go over is to first introducing the AI industry as it is today. Second is to kind of creating the speculation regarding what is the possibilities.
Mhm.
Uh, and then to say what are the problems together, what are the kind of challenges, and to say potential solutions that we need to make in order to get there. And obviously, if we understand the process better, maybe we will understand things along the way. But I
Yeah,
feel
why don't
that
we start with the problems?
uh, wait, so should we start with the problems or should we start with the state of the
That's yeah,
industry?
the state's fine, and then we can delve into what the current problems within.
Okay, so as you can see, the state of open source AI is that there is like 5 or 6 big, large language models that are completely open source.
Mhm.
And it's based on like how big, based on the parameters. So you can see that Meta have 65 billion parameters, Llama have 70 billion parameters. Grok from XAI, not sure, I think also 70. And some so most of those things, Gemini is also open source. Most of those things are coming from big companies that kind of funded. But there is a company called Mistral that is a startup based on in France that built a large language model, 7 billion parameters.
Oh, wow.
That also made that. And just to give you a sense, to create large language model cost a lot. Cost I think like $100 million or more. And so you can
What's
see
the
that
majority of the cost is in curating the data sets or just compute?
both. You need the way the data set are being created is by a process called synthetic data, synthetic data creation, which is basically asking a model a lot of questions. Every time you're asking a model a question is also a compute. So you need compute for taking the database, putting it into the model, improve it, and you need also compute for you need also compute for for the creation. So you currently have this state of affairs currently, and only part of those things are open, and so those are the large language models. So this is more or less the state of the industry right now. And so yeah, but let's talk about the problems. Okay, the problems. The problems. Okay, what I mean by problems. What is the reason those things are a problem? Like the end state, the end result that we want is more money flowing into open source AI.
Yeah.
That's what we want. The problem, why there is not enough, the same amount of money, the amount that flows into open source AI is just a couple $1 billion versus tens of billions or even more than 100 billion flowing into closed source projects is because closed source projects have better business models.
Yeah.
And so if you think what is the problem is that open source AI is not getting enough money for not getting enough compute in particular. So what we need in order for what we need to solve in order for that to happen, we need 3 steps. One is measurements. Second is business models. And third is tokenization. So first, measurements. Why there is not enough money going to open source developers that are building those data sets? Because it's hard to know the quality of what you're funding. Like you're funding a database, you don't know what the person is doing. Maybe he's doing something well, maybe not. But I feel like there is a lot of free compute that is interested in funding those things. But very similar to charity, when you're funding an open source AI or open source in general, but specifically in AI, you don't know where your money is going. What's your value? What's the value of your money?
Yeah.
So if someone will come up with a better benchmarks, benchmarks, like benchmarks is basically ways to measure the quality of those data sets, because those data sets are the most important part in fine-tuning. Then you will have more money flowing into those things. If you have more money, then you'll have more people working on this, you'll have more models, you'll have more. Okay, so when you have those benchmarks, ways to measure, then you very fast going to face another problem. Like this problem is how to make money. Like open source models are brains. They can be used to build apps and to answer questions. Like build apps that use them to improve the app, like like basically any app. But
wait, what about like just incentivizing the downline applications like dApps rather than the brain itself and keeping it open source, kind of like
Right,
what BitTensor
right,
is doing.
right. But the question is how you are, yeah, I think it's kind of similar to Ethereum model where you are, like the model, for using the model, you need to pay gas.
Yeah,
If there was a central model that is charging gas for
yeah,
every call that you are calling it, like an AI,
yeah.
sorry, like a layer one, sorry, like a layer one, this would be a great thing because everyone will use the brain, build applications, and ask questions and pay. Very similar to OpenAI. It's very
Mhm.
similar to that, but instead of OpenAI keeping the money, everyone keep the money. You know, so to do open version of OpenAI, it's something very, very lucrative. The
Yeah.
AI community is not really like tokens. That's why it's not exist
Wait, what do
yet.
you think about decentralizing also the quality measurement? So
Right, right.
interesting service is having like validators see how good the data sets are. Because I think there are some projects trying to do
Sure.
something like that, right?
Okay, so let's think about what exactly are the tasks, right? Because you're saying, okay, we need more money to flow into those developers. But if we'll give money to the developers to do those tasks, then this could be the thing, right? Like so if you look at that, you know, data engineering, right?
Mm. Yeah,
So
like
process,
labeling, sanitization, exactly.
yeah, pre-processing, curation, labeling, sanitation.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can find things that related to.
Because it does seem like something that's I don't know what the human element into it is, but if it can be automated by some sort of um computer in combination with a human that can be like decentralized and tokenized for rewards, that seems something like similar to like neural internet, what they're doing with BitTensor, that I think is really cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, let's actually go to ChatGPT
Yeah.
and and ask um,
What, yeah, how exactly is this done?
uh, how is the following processes in data in AI data engineering is work, working this. Um,
Yeah, it's fine. It'll get it. Let's see what it says.
the fuck? You see, this is a good example um for things that can be, you know, incentivized.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, this
uh,
is actually interesting, actually, the captcha system, because it is a good incentive model because people are providing new data for the algorithm to be trained on. Like all this data that you're submitting, the correct answer is being used as like what you're talking about, synthetics, which is cool.
yeah, exactly. This is a kind of free.
Yeah, I think that's right.
So, sometimes it's becoming too hard.
I think you got to go left one. There we go.
Thanks God. Okay. Okay, pre-processing, handling missing values, normaling scaling data. So definitely all of those things can be done by, you know, like incentivization.
Yeah.
Labeling is crucial
Labeling could
for.
also, I think labeling's being done, right? Through a tokenized model. I saw something.
Some of these things have higher value, some of those things have lower value.
Yeah. The thing is like some of these processes I know require human, um, like labeling was traditionally done by humans, but I don't know if it can be done by computers now. I think it can. But there was something that was like decentralized labeling,
I mean,
and what we're talking about.
it is a mix, but something that is interesting to mention is this. towards the open source weight definition. So when you think what is open source, currently the weights and the datasets are not open source.
Yeah.
Like you see here, what is open, I think he's asking the question. So the mystery weights are truly open, but the dataset is not open.
Yeah.
The dataset is the most, secretive part. So wait, let's go back to the conversation. So we have this huge opportunity in open source AI to create many models. This will be done if the compute cost or funding problem will be disappeared, and this can be solved by either incentivizing the tasks themselves or finding a way to measure the quality of the data set, and also find a way to measure the quality of the model.
Yeah.
And then to find a model for the model. But what you're saying here is that incentivizing the tasks could be also done by tokenized models. It's very interesting to find people that are doing so. And second is that the model can have a model like a blockchain, like a layer 1, like a layer 2, to charge fees based on people that are building applications on top.
Yeah.
And do everything open source, but not doing the data sets, like same, similar to Mistral. So
It's
yeah,
interesting.
I think
What do you think about implementing like a DA layer, or like a modular kind of situation within? It seems like that makes more sense too, where everything, I mean, it's going to be open source, right? But I wonder if there could be a scalable way, with like a modular
I'm
model.
not sure. I'm not sure I understand enough about how to actually do it,
Yeah.
because a blockchain is not like a model. A model, a blockchain carries all the data from the history,
Hmm.
and the model cannot, because it's very heavy. And so
What happens if you kept the previous history and then like learn the best ways for the models to evolve, which would be interesting. Like it keeps the previous
right. This
weights.
called quantization. Quantization is basically a way to shrink the model and use it, yeah, and just
Yeah, because
use
there are
it.
lightweight models too, right? Because if you wanted to put everything on chain, um, do you know how that works?
Yes, so basically what news research is doing is exactly that. They are taking the large language models
Mhm.
and kind of take 5% off the accuracy in order for the model to be much smaller. So their model is so small you can actually store it on your phone. So yeah, but actually what I'm thinking is about those two approaches. Like one approach to bring more compute into open source AI is to create a protocol, so invest in protocols that incentivize the creation of these data sets.
Hmm.
The second option is to make a compute fund, that invests in data sets, invest in models.
Hmm.
So yeah, I guess those two. But I feel when this future will happen, when this bridge will be created, we'll see millions of tokens of open models, millions. Like, and each of them will be maybe not millions in the beginning, but the first one will be 10 billion, the second one will be a billion, the third one will be 200 million, 100 million. So you'll see a really large amounts of those models, and people evaluating the first one more than the second one or the third one.
What do you think is the current like headwind stopping things like BitTensor and stuff? Because they're an open source model. Like you can see the weights on the neural internet and stuff like that. What do you think is stopping them from, achieving this, but also adding like decentralized labeling or pre-processing?
And that's a good question. I mean, I still don't know what tasks Bitcoin so is focusing on now.
Yeah, I think
They're
it's
kind
like
of
it's
all
so
over the
many because they have storage, compute, and now they're creating apps and like full blown. They have like a querying system similar to ChatGPT where you can like it's just a like neural internet you can talk to it. Um, but it's almost like endless, which is crazy.
it's a lot, right? And you don't need so much. Like you just need um you just need one, like to decide on one. Like look at these things, right? Like each one of those things, pre-processing, curation, labeling, sanitation, if you
Yeah.
create a protocol for that, it will be amazing. Like
So what would you classify this category for people that are listening in terms of things to watch out for?
the creation, like protocols that incentivize for creation of synthetic data.
Okay.
Like when you have more data, you have more ammo. This ammo is being used to fine-tune model and creates your private brain.
Yeah.
Another thing that people should think very strongly about is business models for models. So
Yeah.
what is the kind of way to make money with models? Yeah, anyone that is doing it, please approach me. You know, I would love to speak with you and
I really just
uh,
feel like there's nothing which is interesting or that I don't know of. Not a lot out there that are solving these problems, which is
not many, not
yeah,
many, not many indeed. It's not yet, because until now it was useless. Like before those.
big
And I
model.
feel like there is another thing there, that it's very easy to do something low quality, but it's very hard to do something high quality. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, like the shiny object is creating like decentralized models when in reality the bottleneck is the infrastructure that precedes it, like data availability. I mean to train the models, but also like just basic things like pre-processing that's just not incentivized properly. So there's no reason to do it for the open source models.
Yeah, the free compute is, I think, the biggest problem.
Yeah. No, I think
Uh,
but I think like we could take from like BitTensor, like it's a smart project too. They have like a pretty good flywheel where they're pinning the models against each other and then like you were saying, like incentivizing based on the objective best. I mean, it's hard to do that with like filtering and stuff, I think, and labeling, but having being paid out in the local currency, like the revenues keep generating and the value keeps aggregating, which is cool. And I think it can be done with these other processes.
yeah, if like I want to see projects that are unbundling the rewards for
Yeah.
like tasks that are important, that creates a real resource that is important.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, all right.
Yeah.
I think that covered a lot of it. Do you have any other closing remarks or
Um, I mean, if anyone is working on something like that, incentivization of compute, incentivization of data creation, reach out to us, and yeah, it's very exciting. I think the people that will solve these problems will be very, very rich.
yeah. All right, well, I think that wraps up the sixth episode. So we basically covered the incentivization for creation of synthetic data and the business models that are required to go along with that in terms of funding open source models. So again, it was a pleasure talking to you, Yoni. And if anyone has any research or insight, we'll be linking these articles and stuff down below. But please feel free to reach out, and we'd love to collaborate with you. So we'll see you on the next episode, and thanks, guys.